I purchased this Buick Super back in 2020 on Bring a Trailer because I had an interest in what I like to call a classic for some touring. I initially thought I would want to get a 1930s car, maybe a Model A, because they're famous and I'd never had one. When this 1941 came up, I was just amazed at its originality and figured, when will I ever see another 41 Buick this original again? I thought probably never. So according to the description in that 2020 auction on Bring a Trailer, the car was in the hands of its original owner until about 2019, when that fellow passed at 104 years old. Quite amazing. A family friend who had always admired the car purchased it from the family. We're going to get back on the freeway here just so I can showcase more of the freeway abilities. So that fellow purchased it from the family, and being a hands-on car guy, intended to go through the car, since, as you can imagine, someone 104 years old probably wasn't driving anymore. Probably didn't have the energy to really maintain the car. So it probably sat in storage for a while. So after he got the car, he did a little bit. I think he repacked the wheel bearings, inspected the brake shoes, and then sadly he fell ill, could no longer work on the car. And that's when I found it on Bring a Trailer being offered by his son. It was disclosed that it could probably use some suspension work, and the brakes were soft. And after I was the successful bidder, he admonished me to definitely bleed the brakes before I attempted to drive the car. And it was an exciting day when she came off the truck, the transport truck, under her own power. And sure enough, the brakes were scary soft. So I had my friendly shop go through the car for me initially. Notice we're in high gear now, and I'm only going like 40 miles an hour. These engines can really pull at low RPMs. So initially they brought it in, the idle was way high, probably set that way by a well-meaning mechanic, and they balanced the carburetors, reset the timing, topped up the brake fluid reservoir, which was clear empty, and did a basic bleed of the brakes, got a brake pedal out of it, and sent me off for the maiden voyage. And actually she drove quite well. She actually purred and had a nice brake pedal. But I found when I did an emergency test stop, the steering wheel jumped out of my hands and the car practically changed lanes. So obviously she needed some more work on the brakes. So she went back in the shop for a full brake job plus a few other things. She went in the shop several times. What we would do, they would do a few things, because I know the shop very well, and they'd turn me loose in the car to shake it down, test the work they did, and the adjustments basically, and I could make a punch list for other things I wanted. And after several visits, I had addressed every single mechanical system on the car, everything. And she drove like a dream. And now I've had her for about 2.5 years, and I spent a lot more than I thought I was going to spend, but that's sort of the way it goes with old cars. But at least under my watch, the heavy lifting got done. And you know, it's a cliche, but we really are only caretakers of these classics. And so, you know, if each buyer along the line improves the cars, ultimately we really end up with a superior automobile for future generations. So even though I spent more than I intended, at least there was an investment in driving enjoyment. So why might I sell? You're probably wondering, after doing all that work and only having had it a couple years. Well, you know, we all have lots of interests, or I have lots of interests. I like to try to do some traveling, and I have a number of cars to maintain. And there's still cars on my bucket list. I've still never had that Model A. Never had a Packard. So I thought, it's maybe time to let the next person take the reins. Enjoy the work that I've put in. All the gauges work. When I purchased it, it already had the aftermarket temperature gauge, so I just left that because it was fine for my purposes. She's right on 180 now. That's where she always runs, 180 degrees Fahrenheit, whether you're on the freeway or just tooling around town. I just run regular unleaded. She doesn't really need premium since we don't have a super high compression modern engine. Usually I use premium, but again, we don't need the octane on this car. Looks like I'm not going to be able to get through here. I have an admirer for the car, and I thought we'd just drive through this little graveyard. Hi there.
Here.
Oh.
That's for you.
Yeah, that's so nice.
Right there, Bradley West Reynolds. That's
Wow.
for you.
Okay.
You can back up. I love it.
Yeah, I'm going to back up and head on around the corner. Well, thank you so much.
right.
Hope you guys have a nice day.
Real.
It's the real deal. Well, I think I should go while I can go. So I've lost my train of thought now that nice lady gave me a flower. No power steering, but as you can see, skinny little me can just palm this steering wheel. Well, we got some big bumps here in the little cemetery. All the controls work just the way they should. If they didn't, I would have fixed them. One of the things I fixed, what I discovered when I was first shaking her down, is that on the freeway, occasionally the speedometer would swing wildly all the way up to 120. And believe me, I was not going 120. So it appeared to be some kind of cable issue. We think it was catching and releasing. So bought a new speedo cable from a well-known Buick supply house. You can ask me who that is if you purchase the car, and I can certainly refer you. You wouldn't think that a 41 vehicle would have factory turn signals, but she does. I have a couple old pickup trucks and they do not, but I think it was different rules for cars and pickups back in the day. So I have to say kudos to the 104-year-old fellow who essentially kept this car his whole life. Probably bought it when he was 30 years old. And keeping it in this unsullied condition. And what you're seeing here is all original. Of course, there's a patina. Things don't typically last nearly 80 years without some sort of wear and tear. But it's a lovely patina. If you look at this original visor, those visors, the mohair headliner, the floor coverings, the door panels, it's all absolutely original.